Richard Commey, who is going to be fighting Teofimo Lopez, has something to say about Lomachenko and this talk of him being the pound for pound best in boxing. And he doesn't agree with it. And I think it's very interesting what he said. So let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel, subscribers. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe and hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. And also I want to say thank you to everybody in the Patreon, everybody that supports the channel. Thank you guys very, very much, especially in the live streams that we do Monday through Friday and Saturday on OG Boxing Talk, 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. Now, as we know, if you look at any of the mainstream media sites, Ring Magazine, ESPN, Pound for Pound lists, just various and sundry of, look at pretty much any of the big ones. And they have Vasily Lomachenko ranked very high in the pound for pound list, if not at number one. I do believe that ESPN has him number one. I do believe that Ring has him number one. And now Vasily Lomachenko has changed his own tune, and saying now that he believes that he is the number one best fighter in the world. And I think that is not true. And I don't think that it is fair to the other fighters that have put in much more work than Vasily Lomachenko to get to that point. And I think that there's a whole lot of favoritism going on in that regard. And Richard Commey, who very well could fight Vasily Lomachenko, the fight after next for him, agrees with it. He says that he thinks, and he didn't put these people in any particular order, that Errol Spence Jr., Terrence Crawford, Canelo Alvarez, and Deontay Wilder are all ahead of Vasily Lomachenko. Now, I can't, other than the only one that I would disagree with when you're talking about pound for pound would be Deontay Wilder. I don't put heavyweights there. I think the whole concept of the pound for pound list is insulting to guys that don't really fight in a weight class. And I say this often, and I think it's worth explanation before I get into the main point. Deontay Wilder doesn't fight, and Anthony Joshua nor Andy Ruiz really fight in a restricted weight class. Anybody can go to heavyweight to fight, and you can weigh as much as you want in heavyweight. It doesn't have a beginning. Roy Jones fought John Ruiz at around 190 pounds. He came in the weight of a cruiserweight. And you have guys as big as Tyson, or some bigger than Tyson Fury, weighing as much as 260, 270 pounds. Right there between Roy Jones Jr., who was a heavyweight champion at 190, and Tyson Fury, that's 80 pounds. You never see that in any other weight class. So I think that there's just no reason whatsoever to put a heavyweight in there, because if you're the best heavyweight, you're the best, most dangerous guy in all of boxing, and you will actually fight anybody in boxing and actually win, not this hypothetical opinionated stuff, because all this pound for pound stuff is opinion. But as we're getting into the opinion of it, Richard Commey says that he thinks that these guys are ahead of Lomachenko. And I think that any real fair assessment of it, you would agree, people should agree with that. I was listening to Paulie Malignaggi, or what Paulie Malignaggi was saying on Ring TV, and no big fan of Paulie. Talked about how Lomachenko's resume, stacks up with any of the greats, because you have to understand that Vasily Lomachenko stayed amateur for so long that he'll never get the body of work in the pros that these other guys have, because he went pro so late, because he went professional so late. And my thought is, why would you can think that you don't want to take away from him, discredit him because he's only got 13 fights. And in his entire career, I doubt very much that he'll get to 20. And many of these guys that are considered the great fighters have that many title defenses, have that many title shots. But if you don't point out the fact that Vasily Lomachenko only has 12 fights, then you are also discounting the fact that there are people out there that got 60 fights, like Manny Pacquiao. Floyd Mayweather Jr. had to do it 50 times. Terrence Crawford has done it over 30 times. And as we see with different fights, that anytime you get in the ring, anything can happen. And as we see with Vasily Lomachenko, he did get in the ring and something did happen. He lost to Orlando Salido. So if you're going to look at Vasily Lomachenko, I don't think that you should. And honestly, I think, of course, this is opinion, and we all have our own values and what we think is important and what we don't think is important. I think that Vasily Lomachenko is a very, very, very good fighter. And he has had an outstanding career. I think every fight except for the first one that he had was for and involved a major champion, what is considered a major championship belt. Personally, I think it's the WBO at 126 and 130. I don't think very highly of the WBO. Of all of the belts that there are in boxing, I think the least of the WBO, because it is commonly referred to as whatever Bob orders. And obviously there's something funny about it because Bob Arum was able to promise Vasily Lomachenko a championship fight in his second fight in exchange for Vasily Lomachenko signing with him. So obviously there's some very strong amount of influence that Bob Arum has with that belt. So personally, I think that what Canelo Alvarez has done and what Terrence Crawford has done, both is from a resume standpoint, both exceed what Vasily Lomachenko has done. And as far as what they do in the ring, I think that both Terrence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez are better fighters than Vasily Lomachenko. I think that what they do in the ring, I'm more impressed with what they do in the ring than I am with what Vasily Lomachenko does in the ring. And if you look at the quality of their of who they lost to. Now, we had an interesting conversation in the live stream the other day about comparing Vasily Lomachenko to Guillermo Rigondeaux. Now, I was just kind of messing around, but I said, hey, hold on, man. Look at what Guillermo Rigondeaux's done in his career. Look what Vasily Lomachenko's done in his career. The best win of Guillermo Rigondeaux's career is better than the best win in Vasily Lomachenko's, because Vasily Lomachenko's never beat somebody that was thought of as being number 1 or 2 pound for pound. Guillermo Rigondeaux did that against Nonito Donaire. And you look at who Guillermo Rigondeaux lost to. Guillermo Rigondeaux lost 2 weight classes above where he would fight against a guy that is considered by people the top 1, 2, 3 pound for pound fighters in the world in Vasily Lomachenko. But Vasily Lomachenko lost to Orlando Salido. So I know all of this stuff is subjective, but I just think that I agree with what Richard Commey said, that having a promoter in your corner, does a lot for your reputation. When you have Bob Arum setting up your fights to take place the weekend of the Boxing Writers Association of America, when you have Bob Arum and his is it draconian? Is that the word? But very restrictive policies that he has related to giving press passes and credentials to to media. Like, as in, if you don't say something good about my guys, you're not getting a press pass. Beat it. That type of pressure that Bob Arum puts on the media, the promoter puts on the media to blow people's names up, have a lot to do with the way that the fighter is viewed. And Bob Arum has done that extensively and consistently for Vasily Lomachenko. Now, Vasily Lomachenko, again, is a very, very good fighter. You can look at the guy and know, hey, man, this guy can absolutely positively fight. But there's other fighters in boxing that you could say the same thing about. But I, again, am leaning towards what Richard Commey said. Now, if Richard Commey is talking about it, hey, man, and if he's got to actually get in a fight, the ring with Vasily Lomachenko, hey, man, we'll see what happens. And whether or not he got to pay a price for saying that. But with him saying it, I think was fair. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.